So yesterday we shared with you some findings from a recent urine challenge that we did with a patient, and the mercury was off the chart. We're getting to work on that next. We mentioned some of the signs and symptoms associated with mercury toxicity, that chronic exposure, that chronic bioaccumulation in the body. There are a number of sources. The only one we touched on yesterday were the amalgams. Another thing to look at when it comes to mercury, and this one can be maybe the fuel for the fire for people to at least investigate and rule out. Along with the things we said yesterday, mercury, heavy metal exposure, but mercury specifically has been shown to be a potent endocrine disruptor. Endocrine, meaning the hormonal system right there, meaning it alters your estrogen, progesterone, testosterone levels, things like that. Endocrine also includes the thyroid gland, and there is sufficient evidence, enough studies have been done to show at toxic levels, certain metals can inhibit the thyroid gland and how it works to convert T4 to T3. Majority of this takes place in the liver. T4, the inactive form, excreted by the thyroid gland, needs to be converted to T3 to work, to have you at a normal functioning thyroid level. So picture that. If you're not getting the T4 to the T3 and it's due to heavy metal toxicity, you could change your diet all day. You could work out all day. And that could be undercutting your efforts to get down to a desirable weight, to shed some of that excess adipose tissue. The cruel irony on this one here is that the heavy metal exposure, other toxins exposure like the plastics, the herbicides, the pesticides, things like that, where do they store themselves and perpetuate more of? Adipose tissue, fat tissue. That's where they choose to store. Some in our organs, which can be very detrimental, but also in that adipose tissue. And once it's there, that adipose tissue, that fat tissue, is more reluctant to let go. And it can inhibit things like we said, like thyroid function. So now you could be functioning at a state of a lower thyroid level, inability to lose weight, hypothyroid-ish type functioning. Also, having the toxic heavy metals in the fat, holding onto the fat, perpetuating more fat as more toxins need to get stored. That's why all this stuff is so foundational, and it can help. We talk about gut work all the time, but no doubt, something that should be done once, maybe twice a year. And if you have a specific target, you can fine-tune the type of detoxification, if we want to call it that, that you do. If it is it a hormone-focused one? Excess estrogen, estrogen dominance. Is it a heavy metal-focused one? Because if it is, which metal is it? Because we can use specific items that work, have been shown to work better with one metal or another. Is it a mold or mycotoxin? Because again, specific remedies, specific nutritional supplement strategies we can use to get in there and get that out. That's why this stuff is so important. General detox is good regardless, and it's something that we want to be doing every day as we live in this toxic soup. But especially ramp it up 1 to 2 times a year just to counter the inevitable buildup that's going to be there and all the detriments that it leads to. The higher stress levels, filling up that stress bucket, that toxic bucket to the point where you're closer to threshold. You're closer to that next thing being the thing to put you over the edge to autoimmunity or burnout or overall inflammation or a cytokine storm. We want to keep that down. So we want to limit the exposure, but also dump what we need to dump. And there's ways to do that. So periodically emptying that just on a maintenance level, to me, makes sense, makes a lot of sense, and it's a good idea. But especially then, if we also get in the habit of going down the list and picking things off, mycotoxins, molds, let me check my hormone status, is it estrogen dominant, things like that. Plastic, let's test for these toxins as well. It's in there, let's empty that out, and let's modify, individualize this detox protocol to get that specific one out right there, because it could be undercutting your most noble efforts at health, as it's seemingly a stealth issue buried within the tissue. Options, ideas, I'm telling you, plentiful. 1,000,001 places to start, so get out there and get after it. If you're just going to sit on the fence and wait, you got no excuse for when you get sick, because there's a million things that you can do proactively in the meantime. So good luck, and let's get to work.